guys, it's Susan. Welcome back to my channel, Hot Mess Quilter. In this video, we are going to be cutting our fabric for the Carpenter Star quilt. So get your rulers, your cutting mat, and your rotary cutter together, and let's work this thing out. Okay, so I want to talk for a second before we start cutting about your fabric. So I need you to fold your fabric a certain way. Okay, see the white part of your fabric? This is called your selvage edge. I want you to fold your fabric so that the selvage is at the top, okay? So you're gonna fold it, and the fold is gonna be at the bottom, all right? This entire piece then is now your width of fabric. So selvage at the top, fold at the bottom. Now because my table isn't humongous, oh, I really should have ironed this first. I'm going to bring my folded edge up. So I hope you can see what I'm doing. So I have brought, here's my selvage, here's my folded edge that was at the bottom. I just brought it up to line up because now I have a manageable piece of fabric to cut. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim up and square up this side piece. So I've got my ruler and I'm just going to place it on a straight line. I'm going to make sure that the bottom edge is along one of these horizontal lines, and then I'm just going to pick a straight vertical line and square up my fabric. That's so my edge will be nice and clean. So I just cut this little piece off. It's going right in the trash. All right, so this is my background fabric, and I'm going to cut 3 strips 7.5 inches by the width of the fabric. So the selvage is at the top. I've got my fabric folded. You can use your mat to cut. If you have a big ruler, that's probably more accurate, but I don't have a ruler that big. So I'm going to line up that clean edge with the edge, the 1-inch line. I'm going to come over to 7.5 inches, find the mark, put my ruler on it. I'm going to hold this down super firm. I've got my rotary cutter. Blade is open, and this is a fresh blade. You want to hold your ruler nice and still, first of all, so you get straight cuts. Second of all, so you don't cut yourself. This is one sharp mamma jamma. All right, so 7.5 inches. All right, there's my first cut. Okay, 7.5 inches. I'm going to set that over to the side, and I'm going to do another 7.5 inches because we need 3 strips of those. Line my ruler up on that. Press down firmly, cut right along the edge. Then we're going to cut 3 strips of 12-inch wide. So if you have one choice for your background fabric, you're going to continue cutting along with your background fabric, okay? But remember, I chose to mix mine up. So I'm going to set this aside, get out my other piece because I'm trying to use my stash up here, guys. And because my table's small, I'm going to fold the bottom edge up along here. This is legit, should be ironed. Oh my gosh, I'm a terrible example. The bottom fold up along a vertical line. Why do I keep saying vertical? A horizontal line. We are going to cut 3 strips of this background fabric 12 inches by width of fabric. Here's my 12-inch pieces, and then here are those 7.5 that we cut. And we are going to subcut this into 7.5-inch squares. I'm going to find that selvage edge because I'm going to trim that off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could have lined up, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. All right, 7.5. Line that up. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So because this was folded, I'm getting 2 squares out of each of those cuts. Okay, so when you're done cutting your 7.5 inch with the fabric, you should have 15 7.5 inch squares. So we're going to set those aside and we're going to grab our 12 inch and do the same thing. We are going to get a total of 9 of these.
Okay, 12 inches. So I'm just going to color in my 12 inch line because this is a 24 inch knot. Smooth it out, make sure I'm lined up, grab my ruler, and cut. And because this is folded, I'm getting 2 squares. Alright, 12 inch. Cut. There's 3.
Okay, so we've got all our background fabric cut. We had 3 strips of the 7.5 inch with the fabric, which yielded us 15 7.5 inch squares. Cut 3 additional strips of that background fabric, 12 inches. So just not to confuse you, 12 inch. Subcut this into 9 12 inch squares. All right. And the fold is at the bottom, but I'm going to bring that fold up to the selvage edge so that I can cut my material. And then I'm cutting 3 strips of 12 inches. So lining up the bottom edge, 12 inches. There's our first 12 inch cut. Bring this one in here. Line up the edge. Woo! That is going to be right at 12 inches. Look, I lived on the edge when I trimmed that piece up, so keep that in mind. Okay. All right. And I'm going to cut my third 12 inch strip. Now we take our 3 strips of 12.5 inch by width of fabric and we're going to subcut this into 9 12 inch squares.
Okay, line it up at the bottom. 12 inches. Square number 1. And then come right over here. My material's a little bit wrinkly, so I'm trying to kind of push it off with the ruler. Push it out with the ruler. Okay, there's 2 squares. Looks like I can get 3 squares per strip. Look, I'm not a perfectly square cutter either, so sometimes I have to go back and square mine up a little bit. So don't worry if your cuts aren't perfect, because mine aren't either. Sometimes the ruler shifts, especially if you're in a big hurry. The ruler shifts and gives you...
All right, I'm cutting my last 12 inch medium fabric square, and then we're going to count and make sure we got the right amount. All right, now we're going to cut our dark fabric. Starting to see a pattern here. Into 3 strips, 12 inch width of fabric. 3 12 inch strips are going to get cut into 12 inch squares, 9 of them. We've got all our fabric cut, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to match these up into sets. So we're going to make 5 sets of the dark and the medium. All right, 5 sets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, 5 sets of the medium and the dark. All right. 4 sets of the dark and the background. Now we are going to do 4 sets of the medium and the background. And then we've got all of our background squares right here.